Hey everyone, welcome to our small footprint. My name is Nyssa. If you're new here, we are a large family living off-grid in Australia. It is Sunday, and on Sundays I generally do a catch-up video. So we're in the middle of our daily sort of vlogging for Christmas anyway, as much as I can manage. There's been a few days missed. And but I'm still going to throw my normal videos in here as well. So it's Sunday. I have a few things that I need to get done today. I think that lens is really dirty. I don't know if that's any better. It could just be the glare. We need some new shade sail for up above here that got destroyed when we were trying to get the roof sorted. So it is Sunday. Got a few things to get done. So I started going through the fridges over the last couple of days and the freezers, trying to figure out what we had left and what needs to be sorted and things like that. And I found some beef trim still in the bottom of the chest fridge, so I'm going to pull that out today and I'm going to make hamburgers for dinner tonight. So I'm going to get that sorted. So I need to make the dough shortly for that. It is very, very warm. It is like 34 degrees already, and the humidity is off the charts because there's rain forecast for today. So my weather station is saying that it is currently 32 with a humidity of 35%. So it's and it's creeping up. The humidity was 74% earlier. So creeping up, we've got high humidity and pretty bad heat because there's that rain forecast. If we get it, that's the problem though, is that we tend to have a lot of rain goes around us. We're sort of in this like little, I don't know, like a little valley or something here, and it seems to go around us a lot. So we'll see. And then it's supposed to be clear until like Friday, I think it is, and it's supposed to rain all weekend, so that'll be fun. But anyway, so Darryl and some of the kids are at church like normal this morning, so I'm trying to get stuff done, though I did get started a bit late. I got another advent calendar ordered yesterday, so that's on the printer at the moment, and we're doing a big D&D job that we have almost finished. Well, I've almost finished my end of it anyway, and then Darryl will have to complete it, so I'm just trying to get that churned out before I go shopping. So I'm going shopping this week, and I was considering going in a day early, so going on Tuesday instead of Wednesday, but we will see how we go with getting stuff done. Everything should be posted tomorrow, hopefully, so I shouldn't have any worries about that. But yeah, just life in general. So I haven't done my inventories or anything yet. I will do that later today or tomorrow morning, and I'll film that as well. But I do need to reorganize the whole freezer as well, because that's what happens with chest freezers, is that the kids have a tendency to just toss stuff in. And so I start with the month with it sorted, and then, yeah, you know. So I need to pull like a whole bunch of stuff out to reorganize it, just to assess what's in there as well. We've had a big week. Mercury got desexed this week, so she had to go to the vet to be desexed this week, which is the youngest of the rescue kittens that we got and the last one that needed desexing. But we also lost one of our other cats. I don't know why. We found her deceased near the house. Didn't have any outward trauma or anything else. It's possible it was a snake bite, though unlikely, because we have 23 free-range turkeys and half a dozen free-range geese, so we don't get many snakes, but she could have forayed further. I don't know. Not sure, but she was one of the rescues, Panda, and it was pretty devastating to find her deceased, and she was already dead for a while but when we found her, so there was nothing we could do. We also have had one of our other cats to the vet this week because he has some weakness in his back legs. It looks like he might have injured his hips trying to jump off something, or I'm not real sure. So we had to take him to the vet, make sure that he didn't have any tics or any, not that we have paralysis tics out here, generally speaking. We only really have bush ticks, but make sure he didn't have any bites or anything else. They couldn't see anything significant, so we assume it's a strain. So he's on some anti-inflammatories and stuff, and we're just keeping him close to home, and we shall see. So we also had all the chickens hatch. So I had 24 eggs in the incubator, and I wasn't real sure how they were going to go because the temperatures have fluctuated so much, and I don't normally hatch at this time of the year because it's just too hot. It's too hard to keep the incubators under humidity and under temperature. I end up having to open them and close them to be able to, keep the temperatures okay. And we got 18 of the 24 hatch, so that is really good numbers for this time of year. I ordered the eggs a while back, and it took them a while to get here, so I wouldn't normally have hatched them this late, but it is what it is, and we did really well in the end with that. And they are going well. The 9 surviving ones from the coccidiosis outbreak, or what I assume was coccidiosis outbreak, are all doing well, and they have been moved into a tractor inside a chicken pen so that they can get acclimated to the older chickens, and then the tractor will be taken away and they will live in that pen. Originally, that lot of chickens was supposed to be in its own pen because they were bantams, but we only ended up with 7 of them and 2 Hamburgers in there. So we're going to put them in with the Arakunas, I think, which are a fairly smallish chicken anyway as well. And we'll see how we go with that. But anyway, so we had chicken satch. I need to put my hair up. It is so hot. Also grabbed a fan. So we had that. We also had an inverter die. It's the inverter, the main inverter that we had when we very first moved out here. So it's about 8 years old, and it has been our primary inverter for the entire time we've been here. It is a Victron, so it's an expensive one. We've done what we cannot get it working again. I am going to try and find us somewhere who might service it. I don't know if it's outside of that sort of age, but they are like a $1,800 inverter, so it'd be nice to get that serviced and working. But we did have a spare one that we were able to hook up, and so we could get power, but we had a day there where we were swapping things in and out and it wasn't working real well, so we had that happen. We had also just bought a trailer the day before, so I managed to find an enclosed trailer in Toowoomba, and I offered what we could afford. Darryl got paid for a D&D job, so we had a little bit of, money that I could redirect, and he was happy to take it. So Darryl went and had a look and grabbed it. I'll show it to you later, but I'll show it to you on the grocery trip anyway. We haven't quite figured out exactly how we're going to stack it yet. It's just been so hot, and we don't really have anywhere shady to park it, but we need to park it under a tree or something and take all the containers out and have a fiddle. But we'd bought that the day before, and then the inverter died, and then we weren't sure if the inverter the spare one that we had was going to be suitable. And we sitting there going, we've just bought a trailer and now we might need to replace an $1,800 inverter. So that was fun. But anyway, we got it working, so that's fine. We will need to replace that spare one eventually, because that spare one was for a purpose. Like, it wasn't a spare that we just held on to. They're too expensive to just have, spares lying around everywhere. So it's for a purpose. So we will have to replace that one for that purpose, but we will get there. At the moment, we haven't done much progress on the patio. We ran short on joist hangers. Either I miscalculated or Darryl miscounted when he purchased them, so he had to go and grab some more when he was in Toowoomba next. So we've got one line of joist hangers up, but we couldn't put enough on the other side to get all the joists in. But it's also been really hot, and we have this big D&D job that is due next week, I think it is, and it would be really nice to get it in, because once we get it in we get paid for it too, which would be handy leading up to Christmas. So yeah, it's been a week and a bit, and it's been a year and a bit. I think I said that last week too. It's cool. So anyway, I am going to work out why my fly spray isn't working. And get all my bowls and everything set up so that I can start the hamburger bun dough, and then I need to pull the trim out and the mincer out and things like that. So I'll bring you along as I'm doing it, and I'll discuss anything I can think of while I'm going. But yeah, so let's just get moving before it's too late. It's not too late. It's only 20 to 11, but I have been up since 5:30, so it already feels pretty late. I might make myself a coffee milk too, something nice and cold. I could have some of that coffee jelly, but I don't want to use my hands at the moment, so I'm going to make just maybe a coffee milk with my concentrate, and yeah, so I'll be back shortly. Right, so I had to wash my bowl. The dishes were done fantastically well last night, but that's life. I have my coffee milk, so that helps, and we're going to make the dough. I'm then going to do a thorough clean of this bench before I get the mincer out, and then we will go on from there. So I'm going to do my standard brioche dough that I always do for hamburger rolls. I really like it. It works really well. You can adapt it to be less sweet if you want to. It's totally up to you. The sugar helps with the browning, and it mimics like a hamburger roll that you'd get in a takeaway to have that bit of sugar in there, but it is not necessary for the for the dough to work. It's completely up to you. So this is the light brioche roll that is up on the website. I'll put a link to it when I put the post up. I've only got coconut sugar at the moment, which is going to make the dough look a little dark, but that's neither here nor there. It's not going to cause any issues. It's very warm today, so we want to go fairly light on the yeast. Though I just did far more than I was going to because I can't see the numbers on my scale because of the glare, and so I wasn't looking. But you know, it'll be fine. So we need some sugar and then flour. I think when my sugar jar was emptied last, it got washed and it hasn't made it back to my shelf. It's just in with the, you know, the empty jars. I'm using it out of the big tubs, which is really awkward. All right, so we got 1,300 grams of flour in there, 1,200 to 1,300 depending on a bunch of different things. Because it's so warm today, I've gone the top end and I held back a little bit of oil and a little bit of sugar because it's going to proof pretty quick. So we wanted to do that. So I'm going to sort that out. I'm going to clear the bench and I'll bring back. All right, bench is still not perfect. Nothing ever is here, but a lot better than it was. I was just thinking too, when I do my shopping trip, I needed a board to put the TM7 on because the scales just don't work because the bench is too flexible. But I've got one of my good camphor laurel boards underneath it at the moment because that was all I had that fit. And I don't want to use my good camphor laurel boards as a seat for my Thermomix. So I might have a look in Kmart. I might measure the distance between the feet and find something that will work in Kmart this shopping trip to put that on so that I can have my camphor laurel board back to use as an actual cutting board. But yeah, so my brioche dough is always a little bit wet and sticky. We like the result of it that way, but as I said, you can hold back on some of the oil, some of the milk, some of the water. You can bump your flours if you want to have it a little bit easier to handle, but so long as you're proofing it appropriately, when I bring you back you'll see it's still fairly easy to handle, in my opinion. Easy enough to be worth the fact that it ends up being really soft and silky and stays fresh for a couple of days and things like that. So I oiled this container. Let me wash my hands. Just oil it a little bit. Just pull it away from the sides so that it relaxes itself in there, lid on, and we will let that proof for an hour or so. All right, this is the bag of beef trim that I have left. Now, obviously, this is more than we're going to need for hamburgers, but I think I'll mince it all up anyway and even freeze it as mince if that's what it takes. I'll have a think about it. Maybe I'll make some meatballs or something. I don't know, but hamburgers tonight, it needs to be minced and moved out of my fridge. So that is the goal at the moment. So I'm going to dice it up into pieces small enough to go into the mincer, put it in some containers, and then I'm going to throw it back in the fridge for a bit because it needs to be chilled when going through the mincer in this heat. So by the time I've cut it up, it'll have warmed up a little bit, put it back in the containers, throw it in the freezer probably for half an hour just to really firm up, and then we'll run it through the mincer. So you don't need to see me cutting it all up. Beef trim from Costco. Alrighty, dough has well and truly proofed. I cut up all the beef, it's in the freezer, and I will mince that afterwards, but this is going to be a little hard to handle in this temperature.
Too hot to handle?
Can you grab me one of the dough scrapers there, please?
I shall give it a flourish.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Uh-huh. So I put a bit of flour down so that it will be easier to hold. It will bring it all back in the middle. Darryl put a tarp up for me, so I'm not in as much glare, which is nice. All right, so the dough is, a little bit more proofed and a little bit more slack than I would like, but that was it's just the way it's going to be, and we're going to proof it again anyway, so it's fine. So I normally do around about 90 gram rolls, 75 to 90 depending on what we're having them with. We're going to have hamburgers, so I'll do the 90 odd grams because that's a good size for hamburger patties. So all I'm doing is weighing out a 90 gram lot. We've all seen me do this before, but everyone likes to watch, so I'm just going to do it a couple of times. And we've got a hamburger bun. Now I just need to grab a tray. Actually Darryl's just come back out, so I might grab him to grab me a tray, please.
Small tray, big tray?
A large baking tray, please. And then I'm just going to put them on the tray. And we like, with the hamburger rolls, we like to put them spread out on the tray so that they spread out wider rather than higher, because that's always nice with the hamburgers as well. So I'm just going to go through and do that with all the dough into the 90 gram balls. All right, the buns are proofing. I'm going to throw them in the oven in a minute. They're almost done. They're already spreading and looking pretty good, so I'm going to throw them in the oven in a minute. I might throw a little bit of ice in the oven when I throw them in, because everything's just a little bit dry in the because of the fan running and stuff. And I pulled the first container of beef out of the freezer, so we're just going to run it through that. As usual, using my Louvel mincer. I always give a little bit of a shout out to this mincer. There's an affiliate code in the description. It minces about 1 kilo a minute. It only runs at about 500 watts, which is a lot lower than most mincers that can do the same job, and I've never had a problem with it. I even ran 10 kilos of pig fat through it, lard through it, to render to lard, which is not advised by Louvel, but it managed it fine. So, and it just gets stored underneath my bench, so it's not like it's stored anywhere special either. Super easy to put together and stuff. So I always say, if you're on the hunt for a mincer, this one's highly recommended. So I'm just going to run all the beef through. Once it's done, I'll figure out how much I've got left and how much I've got all up after I make hamburgers, and I'll decide what I'm going to do with it, whether I just freeze it as mince or I don't know. I'll see how the day progresses. Do a little bit of recorded. All right, so we didn't have lunch sorted, and I did all that beef. So I put 2 kilos of the beef in a bowl to make hamburgers tonight. We've just cooked up some rissoles to have for lunch now. The kids can have them with wraps or eggs or whatever they want. I'm just gonna have a bit of mayo and sauce with that one. So they're cooking at the moment, and the bread rolls I'm just about to grab out. Now, I egg washed them and then forgot to put everything bagel on them, but oh well. So this is what they look like. Good size and shape, perfect for hamburgers, so these should be really nice. And I will just put some netting over them, just let them cool. We'll have them for dinner. So that was the bread rolls. So I'm going to go eat, and then I'll come back and finish out what I need to finish out. Alrighty, so it has gotten up to 39 degrees today. It has been atrocious. So I made the bread rolls. I think I showed you them, but they're being covered. So bread rolls, they turned out really well. I did egg wash them and then forget to put bagel seasoning on them or sesame seeds or anything, mind you, but you know, that's life. And what I thought I would do is make some bacon jam to go with them. So I was supposed to make caramelized onion jam this month. I bought 2 big bags of onions, really cheap. Lucky they were cheap because I didn't get there. And in our weather at the moment, they go bad really quick. It was something that I should have done within the first week or two of getting home, and I didn't get there. We shall see. I won't buy bulk onions this trip because I've got too much going on. I won't get to it. So maybe we'll look at it as the next trip. So, you know, end of January, beginning of February when I go on the next one, because it'll be a lot quieter then. Though I start the new job at the end of January. So I don't know when I'm doing shopping and stuff yet. I haven't decided. So first week back for the new job is like the 21st or something of January. I have a 3-day week that week because I've got to do first aid as well. So yeah, I'll have to look at timing. I might be best off trying to plan groceries for the week before that. But that might only be like 5 weeks. I don't know. I haven't decided yet how it's going to work. I'm not entirely sure which days I'm working yet either. They're somewhat flexible and I'm somewhat flexible, and we'll figure it out. I don't know yet. It is definitely something that is going to create a little bit of change in the way I do things and the planning processes and being out of the house for those couple of days. They're only 5.5, 6 hour days, and it's only half an hour away, so it's not long days out of the house, and especially in summer it's definitely not long days out of the house. There's plenty of daylight either side, but we'll have to play it by ear as we go. I hadn't actually really intended to ever work out of the house again, not really. So it was something that sort of fell in my lap. It's a government job, it's what I'm good at, and I do enjoy doing it. It's admin work, but it's an all-rounder kind of an admin work with some accounts and some secretarial and some organisation and all that sort of stuff. So it's a good opportunity, and it gives me something to do outside of the house, which I think is beneficial because I don't leave otherwise, and maybe beneficial for the children and Darryl as well, for me to be out of the house a little bit more, rather than them being able to rely on me being here at their beck and call at all times. So I think it'll be a good thing, but I think it's going to be pretty significant change. 2 days out of 7 doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. When I fill my days as full as I do, when I manage to fill 7 days as full as I do, taking 2 days out of the equation, I don't know. So anyway, let's get some onions and some bacon together and we'll make bacon jam, because I didn't get to make caramelized onion jam, and caramelized onion jam takes a long time to make. It's not worth making a small batch of it, because I'd prefer to make a big batch and can it. But bacon jam's a little bit quicker because we're using bacon as well, and we'll cut the onion nice and fine, and it will be sort of what's the time? It's 4 o'clock. So I've still got an hour and a half to 2 hours before we have dinner. So I've got plenty of time to simmer it down and things like that. So we're going to get started on that. I'm going to grab some bacon and some onions. All right, I'm going to start with the bacon. I'm still working my way through these bags of the diced bacon that we've been using on the pizza scrolls and stuff like that. It is just chunked up bacon. I probably don't want to make quite a kilo's worth. Let's say half maybe, or 3/4. I might do that, and I'll stick this back in the fridge. So it's just bacon bits. It's just little bits all broken up. We're going to cook this off. It's going to take a little bit longer because it's frozen. There's a little bit of water that's going to need to be cooked off. So we're going to start on low to just frost it and render out some of that fat, and then it'll cook off in the fat. So we'll get this started while we're going to dice up some onions. So I've pulled 4 okay looking onions out of the bag. We'll see how they go. There's a couple of rotten ones in there. I need to go through the bag really well and pull anything out that can be usable, and what I should probably do is just dice it all up and throw it in the freezer, and then I've got it to use, and it's not going to go off any more than it has, which is what I should have done when I realized that I wasn't going to have enough time to do the onion jam like I wanted. I should have just gone, oh well, let's throw it all through the dicing unit and just freeze it, and then I can use it however I want. Now that mince too, so I've got 2 kilos put aside for the hamburgers tonight, and then there's a big container of more. I haven't weighed it. It's probably 4 or 5 kilos. What I will probably do with that is bag it up and put it in the freezer, and I will make bolognese out of that. And then I won't buy more beef trim at this trip because it saves me esky room as well if I don't buy more trim, and then I can just, when I've got the ingredients, because I need some extra veggies and stuff to make bolognese, and I'm not making it today because I got not enough time, or tomorrow or Tuesday, because there is just too much going on. So I will put it in the freezer and store it accordingly so that I know it's there, and then we can make more bolognese in a couple of weeks. We do have probably, I want to say, 3 serves of bolognese still in the freezer. but you can never have too much bolognese in the freezer, in my opinion. It is one of those meals that when there's nothing else has been prepared, it is what I reach for, because it's full of veggies, it's full of meat and protein. Can have it with baked potatoes, can have it with pasta, you know, all those sorts of things. So I'm just rough chopping the onion, but trying to keep it nice and fine because we want it to cook nice and quick. So I'm just cutting it into slices and then just giving it a rough chop as well. Some varied size pieces so we get some varied crunch in there. And yeah, I'm going to cook off the bacon. I'll bring you back when I'm adding. I need to have a think if there was anything else that I needed to go over. I was going to show you the trailer, wasn't I? So I should do that. And so I might finish off by showing you the trailer for my Sunday chat and share. And then as usual with the food, I will put some photos of the hamburgers on the end of the video for you. So I'm going to leave you for the moment, get all this sorted, and yeah, I'll come back. Alright, I added in the onion and we're just cooking it till it's translucent. It's nearly there, so I'm just adding a handful of garlic from the freezer that I have frozen. And then we will add our liquids. Now ideally we would use apple cider vinegar, except that I don't have any left, and I made apple scrap vinegar on a video last week, a couple of weeks ago, and it's still not quite usable yet. It's not quite vinegar, so I don't have that, but I do have some malt vinegar, so I'm just going to use some malt vinegar. So the other thing is that it always calls for brewed coffee, like you make some brewed coffee and then you do it, except that it's hot and I don't want to boil a kettle and I'm already setting over the stove. So I'm just going to use a bit of instant and water, which works perfectly fine, I have found. So this is cooked off well. Now we need to add those wet ingredients. Let me grab a measuring cup. So we're going to use 1/4 cup of vinegar to deglaze the pan. So there is 1/4 cup of that, and we will get all the tasty bits off the bottom of the pan with that. We want 3/4 cup of strong coffee. We're going to put a tablespoon of instant coffee, and then Sonnet's going to grab me some water, please. That'll do. Yeah, thank you. So we want about 3/4 cup, half, 1/4 in there with that, and keep on getting all those bits off the bottom. Then we're going to do 1/4 cup of maple. This obviously is not a keto recipe. And we're going to add some brown sugar in there as well. And then we're going to let it simmer once we get all this off the bottom for probably half an hour. Let it all get syrupy and thick. 1/2 cup of coconut sugar, because that's what I've got. Alrighty. And that's a very quick bacon jam. So I'm going to turn that down all the way to low, and I'm going to just leave that to simmer. I'll show it to you when we put it on the burgers. Quick note from me, I was editing and I realised that I never ended up actually finishing it off. So we ended up with a storm. So we went out to the trailer to try and adjust it and measure up and stuff like that. And then we had to come inside because we got a storm. So I didn't end up filming anything out there, but I will show it off to you when we do the shopping and stuff like that. So that's fine. I'm just filming quickly on my phone, so quality is bad. The burgers were delicious. Everyone enjoyed those. And I was going to have a chat about some comments that I've got recently, but this video is long enough, and we'll have another chat about it later. It's one of those things that, you know, you don't want to take on board what everyone says, but at the same time, sometimes it's good to like have a discourse about it and stuff too. So we will do that. But it is 9:45, so I'm going to get this video exported and uploading, and I'm going to go to bed. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you on the next one.